welcome to Glory on Grandview. I'm your host, Roger Wright. It's my pleasure to bring you to another edition of the show where we focus on tales of Grizzly football. And today we have got a very unique tale from the Wadsworth community, maybe not involving Wadsworth football per se, but certainly one of our great community members. With me today in the studio, we have one of our media students, and that is JP. JP, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and our guest today is none other than Mr. Ryan Likens. Many of you know Ryan as one of our great middle school teachers, and what many of you may not know about Ryan Likens is that he has been a part of a wonderful family tradition of collecting memorabilia that his family has done for many years, and that is going to be the subject. So Ryan, welcome, my friend, to Glory on Grandview.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
All right, well, it is Thanksgiving time, and we thought it would be appropriate to talk about a family and the Likens family and their wonderful kind of lifetime hobby of collecting memorabilia of all sorts. So a lot of it we're going to show you, some of it, but it is an amazing collection. And it all started for me, I think the first time I saw this, your dad was showing some of it off at the senior center with your mom there. And then, later on, I got this, it was during COVID, everything was shut down. And I got an invite from your dad saying, would you like to see the whole collection? And I said, heck yes. So Ryan, maybe start us off and we'll kind of talk about the collection. We don't have enough time to talk about the whole collection. Sure. It is amazing. But we're going to hit some highlights for you. But how did the Likens family get into collecting?
So we would always center vacations around something sports related. I played sports growing up. My brother played sports growing up. So an early vacation, it would have been 1997, 1998. We went to Niagara Falls, and then on the way home we went to Cooperstown to see the Baseball Hall of Fame. And we're in this little restaurant, and I mean, Cooperstown, everything is baseball. Like the utensils are baseball bats, and like everything, it's all baseball. So we're in this restaurant, and my dad sees this Mickey Mantle signed autograph on the wall, and he's like, I really want that. And sure enough, he bought it, and that kind of started it all. And shortly after that, we were staking out hotels and at the airports and just waiting after games and before games, and it just, it became a whole thing.
And I liked what JP and I talked with you. So you kind of got the bug, right?
Oh, yeah.
The collecting bug hit you, and the seed was planted there that you started. Okay, well, you mentioned the process. So you guys got it. You had it down to an art, didn't you? Where you could talk a little bit about that. There's really kind of some planning that goes into this thing as collectors do that. So talk a little bit about how you guys would orchestrate pulling off getting some of these signatures.
So just to talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that weekend, the enshrinement weekend, we knew that either a day or two or three maybe before the enshrinement ceremony, most of these guys, they would just fly through Akron-Canton Airport, and there would be other collectors there, and you would just have a big bag of stuff, and you would just kind of wait on arrivals. And we did a lot of that. And then once we started talking to other collectors and everything, we found out that they were staying at this hotel right across from where Belden Village Mall is. It's either a Marriott or a Hilton, I can't remember now, but the majority of the players would stay there. And this is late 90s, so this is before, now it's kind of become monetized. So a lot of these guys, if they're signing autographs, you have to pay an admission and everything. But back then it was kind of the Wild West, and they would Tommy McDonald would come out and he would be telling stories and signing autographs, and Eric Dickerson and Lawrence Taylor and all these guys. Like it was just wide open. So that's the strategy. And then you would learn if certain musicians were in town, the hotels that they would stay at, and when they might possibly be coming in. And my dad had all of that down. He knew it.
And JP, I know you had a question for Mr. Likens.
All of this stuff is actually pretty incredible. The one question I would say is, what's the longest distance you took to get one of these autographs?
So like I said earlier, we would always center our vacations around sports, as something sports, and then it became sports autographs. So one year we vacationed to the Tampa area at the beach, and we went to the Buccaneers training camp. It was down there where Disney has the big ESPN sports complex, and we were able to meet a bunch of Buccaneers. My mom talked to John Gruden for a while, had a conversation with him. So I'd say that is probably the farthest, Tampa, Florida.
All right, Ryan, you mentioned celebrities. I know we have a picture here of one of them that your dad got his picture with, and that is Meatloaf there. But maybe talk about some of that, like the rock stars and other folks there.
So yeah, we learned while collecting that a lot of big musicians like Meatloaf, they would stay at the Ritz-Carlton when they would play in Cleveland. So we knew if someone was in town that if we staked the Ritz-Carlton out, there was a good chance that we would be able to see them. And met quite a few people that way. My dad met Meatloaf there, met David Bowie there, and my brother met Bruce Springsteen there, and it's kind of funny. It sort of came full circle because I just got my wife Jill. She teaches at Franklin. We just got married at the Ritz-Carlton about 3 weeks ago. So shout out to Jill.
Shout out to Jill.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Thank you.
But some of the memorabilia here. So that JP's got the David Bowie autographed album cover there. I've got a neat Leonard Skinner. It's got a number. You can't really see the signatures, but they're on the album right there by my hand. So really some cool. You mentioned, I was blown away. Bruce Springsteen, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. I mean, he had so many cool celebrities, that musicians and everything.
Yep.
Let's kind of turn our focus to maybe some of the, and the Cal Ripken, we got to hold that up. Cal Ripken ball.
Can't forget about that.
That was another one. That was pre game at Camden Yard, and I had heard that Cal Ripken signs 5 autographs before every game on the first base side. He would sign 5 autographs, and I got lucky. I went down there and worked it and ended up getting that signed myself, and I got the Bowie signed myself. So yeah, a lot of it is sentimental value. It's a lot of memories of growing up. We're getting to spend time with my dad and my brother, and just the crazy stories attached to it all.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, each piece probably has memories that are
For sure,
attached to it. So, all right, well, let's talk about the NFL. The NFL collection blew my mind. You mentioned the Hall of Famers coming into town every year.
Yep.
So you guys had it down to a science, because in that collection, I mean, it's hard to describe. There was a wall of mini helmets, all signed by Hall of Famers.
Yep.
So I know we've got some pictures here of Ryan with Leroy Kelly. There you are. Look at it.
Yep.
There you are, little guy with your tribe hat on, with a Hall of Famer, Browns Hall of Famer Leroy Kelly. You can just talk through them, Ryan. There's the pictures.
Yeah,
there.
that's my dad with Jim Brown, the greatest of all time, depending on who you talk to. I think he makes a pretty good case for not only the greatest back, but maybe the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
And there's Gene Hickerson. He might have sneaky been my dad's favorite Brown. I think he blocked for Jim Brown. Jim Brown made a really strong case to eventually get him inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I know meeting him was a thrill for my dad, and that was my dad who had met hundreds of these players. He was really, really, really thrilled to meet Gene Hickerson. There's my brother and I with Dan Deerdorf. The Hall of Fame used to do signings. They called them Best of Yesterday and Today. They would pair a Hall of Famer with a current NFL player. Right. And for like $5, you could go in and get something signed from each of them. So that was Dan Deerdorf at one of those.
All right. Well, one of the showcase pieces, gentleman, sits right in front of us. It is Oakland Raiders, old school.
Oakland
Raiders helmet.
Say right. Yeah, say right.
So Ryan, talk about that helmet. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So this is one of the prides and joys of my dad's collection. He is a lifelong Browns fan, but you always have those 1A, 1B teams. Growing up, the Raiders were definitely his 1B team. So I want to say it was probably the early 2000s. He had the bright idea of getting this full-size helmet and trying to get every Raiders Hall of Fame player that was still alive on it. And we have, and now looking at it, there are quite a few people who are no longer with us who are on the helmet. Al Davis is on the helmet. John Madden just passed about a year ago.
And those were too big. Talk about the Al Davis. That was a big signature.
So Akron Canton Airport, I don't remember who was getting inducted for the Raiders that year, but Al Davis was in town, and he came into Akron Canton Airport, and he was in really bad health at that point, and an assistant, somebody was wheeling him in a wheelchair. And my dad, as loud as he could in front of this whole group of people, as Al Davis was famous for not signing autographs. He really wouldn't. That was his personality type. And my dad said, okay, the weekend can begin now. The godfather of football is here. And he kind of looked over at my dad and he smirked a little bit. And my dad had the helmet and he kind of waved him over. And I mean, he was in really bad health. He had a hard time signing it, but yeah.
That's awesome. And then the other one I loved, because I remember your dad telling me the story too, was John Madden. Yep. John Madden was another tough one to get. So talk about maybe how when John Madden signed that helmet.
So again, over the years, we learned that the night before the enshrinement at the Canton Civic, they do an enshrinement dinner. So all of the new enshrinees, as well as all of the past Hall of Famers who are there for the weekend, they all have this big dinner. So we had the helmet, and I think at that point John Madden might have been the only one that we didn't have on it. So we heard that he was it was for Ray Guy. Ray Guy was getting inducted. John Madden's there. So we're at the Civic, and it's so funny with coincidence. Like a lot of these times, it's just dumb luck sometimes. So my dad and I are standing there, and I mean, all of the guests are in dress, like formal wear, suits and everything, and I'm in a cargo shorts and a t-shirt. Some lady comes walking out. She's like, she kind of gravitated to my dad and I. She's like, hey, I have an extra ticket. Do you guys want it so you can go in and maybe have a better shot at getting signatures? And we said, sure. Yeah. So I went in and I'm in the corridor, and it's not even halfway through dinner. And John Madden at that point, I think his health was getting kind of bad. And out he comes, and he's going to his car. Well, he had to go down this long corridor, the length of the Canton Civic, to get to where his car was waiting for him. And the whole way I have this helmet and I'm just working it. I'm like, please, Mr. Madden, please.
And it was a tough one, right? Like, he was another one.
He had a team of 8 people around him, and he was like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the only autograph he signed all weekend. So I'm working it, going down the line, please, Mr. Madden. And finally I was like, Kenny Stabler's on this helmet. I was like, Al Davis signed it. And he kind of looked over at me and he's like, give me the helmet.
And reluctantly signed it.
Yep, and that was it. So I came running out, and my dad was jumping for joy. And it was.
And that probably
crazy.
happened because I remember he had a bunch of funny stories like that where you guys would just, try to time it up, and now, sometimes it went awry, right? Like sometimes, like maybe talk about sometimes you waited, you did everything, and then it didn't happen for you.
I remember would have been the mid-'90s, Cowboys, Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Jimmy Johnson's coaching. And they were playing in the Hall of Fame game that year. And my dad learned from someone that they were staying, I want to say, at the Radisson in downtown Akron for some reason. So we staked it out, and every single player just walked right by us.
Nothing.
And then, I know they get a bad rap for being like a front runners team and everything, but darn it if Jerry Jones didn't stop and sign autographs for us and talk to us a little bit.
Jerry did, the players did not.
Yep.
Right. Well, you said, and I know your dad told me this too, you guys were always respectful. You knew that was one thing, like how you approached players.
Yep.
How, not to be too pushy. So maybe talk a little bit about that. What were some of the Likens family rules as you went about this craft?
Mr. whoever it was, Mr. Bolitnikoff, Mr. Matt, whoever it may have been, always Mr. We messed up actually the same trip where we got Cal Ripken of trying to give people, if they were on the phone or something, because that's usually when they would come outside, if they had to be on the phone, or some of the old time guys would smoke cigars if it was a dinner or something. So it'd always give them their privacy and give them their space. And we blew it with Alex Rodriguez. He was on the phone and we were a little too eager, and he just turned around and walked right away from us. We were like, oh, shoot.
So there had to be the highest highs and the lowest lows.
For sure. And what was funny about it was it would be hours and hours of waiting for like maybe 30 seconds of being in the presence of this person, and then it was like euphoric. Like it was it was so much time just killing time.
All right. Well, some of the favorite pieces in that collection were Cleveland Browns memorabilia. So we saw the Leroy Kelly and Jim Brown and Gene Hickerson, but in front of us is truly a one-of-a-kind masterpiece that your dad put together. I would stand to say there's not anything like it anywhere. The 3 most painful moments in Cleveland Brown history, with autographs and pictures. So Ryan, walk us through this masterpiece. This is the Mona Lisa of the collection.
So starting off on the left, there's Sam Ritigliano. He is, of course, coach of the Cardiac Kids Browns, yes. And I guess speaking of the Raiders, a game against the Raiders. You were there, weren't you?
I was there, 20 below zero in Cleveland Municipal Stadium.
And just a heartbreak.
It was a heartbreak.
So he called a play, Red Right 88, toward the very end of the game, and it got intercepted, and the Raiders went on, and the Browns went home.
And the picture below the helmet is Ozzie Newsome in the end zone with the interception happening, and the inscription on the helmet, Sam Ritigliano, Red Right 88. Ouch. All right, the second most painful moment.
The second one, we'll save the middle one for last. The second one on the right is Marty Schottenheimer, and he signed it The Drive, ouch, of course, in reference to the Broncos and John Elway going 98 yards, because the picture first and 10 from the Broncos too. And darn it if they didn't go all 98.
2-yard line, and we were jumping up and down at home thinking we were going to the Super Bowl. But the drive happened, so all right. So Marty signs it, ouch. And then I love the story behind the next one, because your dad said it was the toughest one to get.
Yeah, and possibly the most painful of the 3. Ernest Biner is in the middle, and he signed it, the fumble, ouch. And he was kind of mad at first when my dad asked him to sign it, and we didn't have either of the other helmets with us. So my dad is explaining, he's like, oh, Sam did this, and Marty did this, and he was kind of not happy about it, rightfully so, as you can imagine. And then my dad kind of sugarcoated. He said, well, if Webster Slaughter would have blocked for you, it wouldn't have been an issue. He kind of laughed a little bit, and he's like, sure, I'll do it. So, yeah, definitely a one-of-a-kind piece for sure.
So there it is. And then Ernest Biner, there's the picture, the heartbreaking picture of Ernest Biner on his knees after he fumbled there. But, like you said, that the fans that watched it, and I'm sure your dad, he was good. He was a wonderful people person, and I'm sure he knew how to.
Oh yeah,
because he told me, he's like, I knew that was going to be tough. It was sensitive. Ernest Biner was such a hard moment, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone had ever thought to do anything like this, but I don't know if anyone would have the guts to ask those 3 guys to do that. So I think that's why it's kind of unique too.
Yeah, but I love it. I mean, it's such a cool piece, because we as Browns fans know we got to have a sense of humor, right? I mean, it's too painful. This stuff is too painful to not laugh at some of that. So really, just a creative, great idea, like you said. Your dad, the mastermind, man, to pull that off and to have that is really something. But one of the other cool pieces, we didn't show a picture of his 1964. That is another cool picture of the 1964 Cleveland Browns. Look at that. I mean, that blew my mind. He had multiple. I mean, that was just some of the Browns memorabilia he had signed there through, Jim Brown and all those glory years, and just a lot of fun. So, JP, I knew you had another question about kind of Mr. Likens and what he would like to do.
Okay, so we got the Raiders helmet, which is very, very incredible. I know it took a lot of hard work for you guys to get it. And we talked about the dog carryall. You had the Dolphins helmet signed with every single Dolphin on it. But my question to you is, if you get another helmet and have all the Hall of Famers on it again, which team would it be?
It would probably be the Green Bay Packers.
Really?
Talk about a historic franchise, either the Packers or the Bears. One of those two. I think those two teams might have the most Hall of Famers out of any franchise. The Browns are up there too. The Browns have quite a few, going back to Motley and Lavelle and Groza and all those guys. The Browns, they have a lot too. Yeah, probably the Packers. Packers, that would be neat.
And I liked what you said too. When you start a project like the Raiders helmet, there's no stopping it, right? It's like it's like we gotta find a way to get this done as hard as it is. But you kind of now one of the things we talked to you about were like the circles of people. So were there people that you knew, your dad knew, that would kind of hook you up that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess you could almost say it's kind of like a community of people. Like you would see the same people at all of these different things, and he became friendly with a few of them. They would kind of trade information when they would have it and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there is an art and a science to it. It's a thing. Autograph hounds, it's kind of like the paparazzi in a way, only. But we were always the type, there are some guys that they would be there with just a book of 8x10s, and you knew they were going home and putting them right on eBay. We didn't ever sell anything. It was always just for my dad's personal collection and just making those memories.
All right. Well, the collection, again, it's in storage now, and rightfully so. It's priceless. But how many, do we know how many mini helmets, how many? It was a wall. He had a wall of mini helmets signed by Hall of Famers. 200 probably.
Like that,
I mean, to go along with the musicians.
Yeah. He had all the bases covered.
He had all the bases covered.
He did.
So again, things are kind of, put away in storage and stuff. And we lost your dad, unfortunately, there. But the memories are incredible, and the the memories that I got were just great.
Yeah.
And just, as we think of that, we've got the holidays coming up. I bet every holiday somebody brings up a story of the collection and remember when this happened, and remember we did this, and so many good memories.
Yeah,
so
because he is a character too.
He was a character.
You can imagine him.
Yeah. You guys got your people skills. Well, both of your parents, Nancy too. Both of your parents are very, very people oriented and outgoing and fun. But yeah, definitely anybody that met your dad knew. You see that in a minute. He was just a lot of fun, and he had a great personality. And I think that really lended itself to this type of hobby where he could kind of get Ernest Spiner to come over.
Sure.
And, come on, come on. It's a good idea. So, all right. Well, we got some pictures of you guys since, and a couple pictures of Dustin. Dustin was a Grizzly football player, so I always like to tie that in. Your time then, that it's kind of cool. You went on, doing some athletics there, and then you were our athletic director at the middle school. We got a cool picture of you with Coach K there and Duke. So, maybe what's the future? More autographs? Will you continue on? What?
I kind of stopped probably once I became like high school age, and I think my brother was the same. We kind of outgrew it.
You guys weren't cute anymore.
No, we weren't. So I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. But like you said, I've got to keep the Raiders helmet going. So if any Raiders get inducted, I'm gonna
just rushing down there.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ryan, thank you. It is incredible. I mean, like we didn't even touch the surface,
right?
And to really talk about the entire thing is amazing. But we appreciate you coming here
of course.
On Glory on Grandview, doing a unique show, telling us all about the Likens family tradition of collecting memorabilia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, join us, everybody, next time on Glory on Grandview, Tales of Grizzly Football.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.